Okay. Let's see if we can get going here. Well, we got one in. And one gone. Hey, Diane, your holsters went out this morning. I've got tracking number, but I can't keep track of, I don't know which tracking number it is. But yeah, they went out this morning. If you don't see them in the next 4 or 5 days, get a hold of me and we'll see what happened. All right. Up to 6. All right. We're getting a good start on this one. Good morning or afternoon. I guess it's afternoon. Yeah, it's afternoon. Everybody, I'm sitting here just doing some leather work like I do every week. So yeah, I've been working on leather here. I screwed up. I'm going to have a left-handed walker holster that I didn't intend because when I was cutting leather on the last chat, got screwed up and I got my pattern reversed for the walker, so I've got a left-handed walker holster. So Steven, if you want a left-handed one in one of that kit, I can send you one of those. Yeah, because I cut it out and I'm like, there's something wrong with this holster. And I'm like, oh crap. Oh, I about screwed that up too. So, anyways, if anybody is out there looking for stocking stuffers, I'm working on the coasters. I decided instead of stitching all of them, I decided that I've got this high dollar kangaroo lace here that's not getting used. It was time to use up some of that. So, I am, and that lace got off to that side real bad. But anyway, I am. Yeah, you could. I'm gonna try to do, or I'm gonna do a lace on a handful of these. I'll stitch some, but I thought the lace would be nice because these are just glued, and I'll run a stitch seam through here where I've already got the stitch line at. But those edges eventually are going to start peeling out and rolling. With this, they won't do that, but it also makes these fairly spendy. I think I said in one video I could sell these for $5 a piece. Actually, it'd be about $7 a piece. And if you want the ones with the lacing, they're going to be a little bit more, like in the $15 range. Maybe not quite that much. I'll have to figure out how much I can get out of them, but yeah. And these will probably be going up on the Etsy page here before too long. But yeah, I tried to price these out, figure out what price to ask, and there's such a wide variety. I've seen some that had a lot of fancies for fairly cheap, and some that had very little fancy for a lot of money. I think the most expensive one I seen was $25 per coaster. I was like, gee, gads. But on average, like a 4 coaster set was in the $20 range. Nice thing is I can't turn that. All right. Oh, then I'm getting notifications from one of my friends. The heck was that? Sorry, gotta check this. Yeah, I'll look at that later. My friend Caroline sending something to me. Oh, sure thing, Diane. Yeah, and I'll be able to get a quite a bit cheaper shipping on these. Went to the post office today to see if they had anything in that flat rate box that was between a small and a medium, because the medium box is like sending one holster is just a waste of space. But the small boxes won't fit a holster in them. Not your standard size holsters. And you can get a pocket model holster in one, but yeah, and then by the time I add insurance onto some of these, so like if you order 2 holsters from me, I put the insurance up on it pretty stout. Um, and by the time I add it up, I'm actually losing a little money on that, especially on a 2 holster purchase. But I had one really big purchase on this one, and I'll probably know who that is. Sent them 7 holsters in one box, and by the time I put the insurance on, it was $30 to ship it. Oh, we're down to 2. Probably people just checking in right quick. So anyway, like I said, working on these coasters for the time being. I'm trying to get these done, get a set of these, kind of make them look nice here, and then I'm going to be starting on some other leather. But I'm doing what they call this, a double stitch, going around this edge. So I've went around with it, and I don't have the actual stitching tool, the lacing tool to punch the holes on this. I've just got diamond tools, and so I took my single diamond, and instead of holding it to where it cut the diamond this way, I held it just at a bit of an angle, so it cut it to where it was more parallel. The long part of it was parallel to the outside edge, and that lets me get this lace to go through here real nice and smooth and clean. I did try it on a 2-prong one, and I was just piddling around, but it looked, it went through those okay. I actually had to take my awl and open the holes a little bit bigger, because when you push the diamond, the next one that comes through, it kind of pushes the back ones down a bit. But I went to the single one, and it goes through just fine. I've got a marker here, the marking wheel, stitching wheel, whatever you call it, this tool. I can mark out about 7 stitches an inch, and at 7 stitches an inch, 7 stitches per inch, that comes out just about right for doing this lacing on here. So what I do, I've already started this one, of course, but as you're going through there, after you start it, so I'll go through, I'm going to go through on this next one through the next hole. I'm going to pull that through, and I try to keep, I want the flesh side up. Because with the flesh side up, that means the smooth side is to the outside. So then it just comes down real nice, just like that. And then it makes back here what they call a bite. So these loops are actually overlapping and creating an X. So on my next pass, and it's going to be just like when I went through the other one, it's going to be flesh side up. I'm going to go through right in between those two. Can't see on the camera. Right through that X there. Pull that through. Cinch that down. Pull it over. And see, when I pull it over, it crosses right here. And that's what creates that X that you want to go through. You see that there. Creates that X. So you go over it. You push it through the hole. And then you go back through the bite. And you just keep doing that until you run out, or you until you run out of lace, or you come around to the end. The hard part of this is finishing it off. And I don't know if I'll get to that or not on here. I haven't had a whole lot of practice on that. The reason why I have not had a whole lot of practice on that is due to the fact I've only done one of these right here. That's the first one I did this morning. And so I'm doing this is my second one that I'm working on here. And it is, yeah, it's going on right there. Whatever, so often, because as you're going along, this edge here, at least for me, is wanting to hang off onto the backside. So as I go along, I kind of just give it a little work up, and that'll let it slide up into place. And then, of course, once I get done with that, I'm going to go around here. I'm going to beat it down with the mallet. That'll make it lay a little bit flatter, and I probably should have went around this and cleaned up the edge a little bit better, but yeah, it gives it a nice bound edge, and I'll never have to worry about that backing peeling off on the edges there. And I did coat these with Resolene. They got a little bit of shine on them. I figure if they're going to be used for coasters, they're probably, going to have water and stuff spilled on them, so I'll put a little coat of Resolene on them, and that will give them a nice little shine, and it'll give them some protection. I probably should have went and put another coat of Resolene on them, but I didn't. I can still do that, though. All right. Yeah, just going along here and lacing these up. And for whatever reason, I always get one that throws it a little wide. So well, we started off with quite a few folks, but then it got pretty quiet all of a sudden. So folks, just a reminder too, on Saturday, I think it's at 7:30. 7:30 Central Time, so 6:30 my time. we'll be doing that chat with Garrett and them on the Rosebud, which reminds me I've got to start reading up here, so I'm probably gonna have to quit working at night and start reading up. So we're gonna be kind of doing some more on the 1876 campaigns that took place up here in this part of the country and a little further north. Unless I can't get read up before then we might do something a little different. But yeah, that'll be going on this weekend on Saturday. I know Garrett at some point here wants to get into the Nez Perce part because that kind of ties in down in his stuff down there in their neck of the woods. Because that's where a lot of the Nez Perce were sent after that conflict. But yeah, I'm gonna we'll do that Rosebud one then. Some point in the future, I'd like to get a little bit more into Red Cloud's War, but I'm going to do a little bit more reading up on that. All right, I better check the chat. I know my mom's been in there posting a bunch of stuff here. Diane, yeah, I don't have a Civil War military holster yet. I've got one that I've been working on a pattern for. But yeah, if you want it butt forward, you just say butt forward right hand. Yeah, I've got the body of one out there. I just need to figure out the flap situation. And the belt loop situation, which I think I can make that work. I also, what I could do too, I don't know what you want to put in it to carry in it, but I could also just make this 1872 Gaylord conversion holster and just leave the wiping rod off of it, and it would be appropriate for Civil War era. Okay. I thought I'd taken enough. Whoops. And then I always got to be one little hiccup. Oh, never mind. Wasn't that big a hiccup. It was just twisted. There's got to be that one little freaking hiccup in there. There was a fit. I was thinking about doing a holster, making a holster with this for the edge on it, but I think I would want to stitch it and then lace over that stitch. Of course, if I use this kangaroo, that would, I probably wouldn't have to do that, but yeah, I was thinking about doing a holster with this kind of edge on it. But yeah, about halfway done. Been going at it here for, I probably started about 5 or 6, maybe 10 minutes before I got on here, and we've been going at it for 20. So yeah, it's probably going to take me just about an hour to finish this up. One thing I've noticed though is the more the chats I do, of course my chats have just been kind of piddling around with leather here. More chats I do, the less chat viewership I have. Hey Todd, we are just working on some leather coasters here. So yeah, I forget what the name of this lace is. I think it's double loop lacing. It's actually one of the simpler ones. Um, just takes a long time to do it. But yeah, the lace I'm using on this is Kangaroo. Honest to God, Kangaroo. It's cognac color. And I bought it when I was making saddlebags and um, pommel holsters. Because I thought, oh, I'll just buy that lacing. That'd be good enough. And then I got it and like, oh, that's not the lacing I wanted at all. And I paid $50 for that roll of Kangaroo right there. $50. And so it's about time I got some use out of it. But I'm going to try to start making some checkbook covers and spur straps and just kind of generally expand the business out a little bit. Well, Diane, it's funny you should say that about my Maker's Mark on the coasters looking good. Because that's exactly what's right in the center there. Yeah, so these I've got, let's see here. I've got 8 that are done in russet. This is a russet color. We got 8 more out there that are done in medium brown, which is a more reddish brown. I did have a little bit left over that dye, and I thought I'd use that up. Very beautiful reddish brown. I wished I had a burgundy lace to do around those edges, but I don't. I still have to glue those onto a backer, a liner. My glue, my glue has pretty much gone the way of the dodo, so I got to go to town and buy glue. I also have to go buy leather, and yeah, so it's probably why I should focus on these holsters instead of this. But let's see. Todd says, "Do you use Pecker's oil on leather goods?" No, I've been using Neat's Foot, and I forgot the brand that I'm using. I think it's called Shep, Old Shep. What I do know for certain is that of all the Neat's Foot I've bought, it's the most rancid smelling I've had. And thankfully that doesn't transfer to the leather. When I put it on there, the smell goes away. But I know some of the professional guys use just plain old olive oil. So as long as it's a natural oil, you can get away with a lot. And I'll watch. I am going to be just exactly too short, I bet, by the time I get over here to have one piece. It's a good thing I got a short piece left over, but I think it's even too short for what I'm going to need. I was hoping I could do this without splice in it, but I don't think I'm going to get that lucky. I should have took another arm's length. It only takes about 10 feet of Kangaroo to do this, and I got 150 feet, so it means I could do 15 coasters, and then I'd be out. Not going to do 15 coasters. Some of these are just going to get stitched. But or I might go, and I also have actually I'm going to use some of this black. So I've got a roll of Superior calf lace. That's 1/8 inch. It's a little thicker than the Kangaroo, but it's jet black. I got this to do set of McClellan holsters, or holsters from McClellan saddle. Prototypes that I put together and I've never done anything with. I should go do something with them. But yeah, I bought it for that. And I've never used it since. Yeah, Terry, I'm using pure neat's foot. It's just kind of stinky. It's not as refined. Neat's foot. I'll say that it's not as refined because when I pour it out into a container and let it sit overnight, it gets some solids that float down to the bottom. And I had to move all that stuff inside because I went outside the other day to oil a holster, and my neat's foot oil was lard. So I didn't get to do that. Yeah, I'm gonna be too damn short. Knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I'm about 2 feet too short. All right, here. Getting close to the end. Let's see, check the chat here. And if you folks don't want to use neat's foot oil, like I said, you can always use. Whoops, I about screwed that up. Use olive oil. You can use vegetable oil. A lot of, like I said, the big time professionals use olive oil. Coconut oil. I've used lard before. Lard will. It takes a lot longer to soak in, but put lard on a piece and stick it out there in the sun, and it will soak in. And that's all neat's foot is. It's lard. It's just rendered down to and refined to an oil. Yeah, I'm gonna come up just about 2 foot too damn short. Son of a gun. When you get down though and get shorter on this, it starts to go a little faster because you don't have to fight so hard with the lace to keep it upright. I'm gonna be 6 inches short. That's all. Not 2 foot. I'm gonna be 6 inches short. Yeah, it was funny is when I was getting started with holsters, about the time I got my dog, my older dog, Dolly, and I went outside to oil some holsters. And Todd, it's oil that comes from cattle. Like that Terry fellow there said, they boil the hooves a lot of times for that, but it's essentially more refined lard. Um, I had an old guy tell me you could cook with neat's foot oil. You won't catch me doing that. Um, no siree. That is the nastiest. Especially this. This is kind of rancid. God damn it! I'm gonna come up short. I'm gonna come up 6 inches too short. Right there. So, show you how to splice it right quick. Good thing I watched that video on how to splice them. I got that starting one way too tight, so it's going to be a pain in the butt to get that laced back together. But, so what I have to do is try to get in here, and being as I glue this edge, and my glue wasn't all that great. For some reason, it worked perfectly fine on this. Going to try to get in here and get that to separate out. And basically all that's happening is this glue works so well on this goat, it's actually peeling, separating the goat, the upper layer from the lower layer. So that's how thin that goat hide is. So what I'm going to do, being as I got that separated now, I'm going to come in here, and I'm not going to go all the way through. I'm not going to go through the goat hide. I'm going to go through right in between them. I'm going to pull that up and bring that down, kind of cinch it. Take my needle off. Actually, I shouldn't have took my needle off just yet, because that one's, I could have run that back through there. But anyway, I'll grab this other piece. And when I cut my pieces, I cut an arrow point or a belt tip or whatever you want to call that, spear point. I cut that because it just makes it go through that leather that much smoother. And these things are just like little hair bobbin kind of things. And so I'm going to come in. Boy, that goat is awful thin there. But I'm going to come in there. Boy, that goat is awful thin there. Might have to do something a little different. Actually, what I'm going to do something a little different here. I'm going to come back a couple stitches. See if I can mask this in real good. I'm going to pull that in there, and I'm not going to pull it all the way through. I'm going to pull it right there. Now I'll go through that goat. And you had to twist on me, you ornery son of a gun. Well, and then I had to go on the wrong side of that. That's what I didn't want to do. Okay, come on now. Alright, come on now. And then I go and pull it all the way through. Yeah, Todd, I think I'm going to be back there at Fort Laramie. I'll be back again. Trying to figure out what all's going to go on here. Alright, this thing is starting to tick me off. Let's see if I can get this done. Alright, we're going to come back through here. We're going to go into our bite. Get all these little twists out of there. I'm going to hang on to these two ends. Okay, and I'm going to trim them up. They're probably going to stick out just a little bit, but it's all right. Yeah, I'll probably be back up here for another summer, which, I'm happy with that. I wished I could have a permanent job somewhere, but we'll see how it plays out. Of course, I just did put in for Fort Davis in Texas, and that's a really good paying position there. It's a GS9 579. Yeah, if I'd have had just about 6 inches more, I'd have made it. Okay, so I've come up to my end here. So I'm going to go through there, take my last bite, and you'll notice I've got a hole there. And this is where kind of the magic comes in. So before I get too far, I'm going to go through and make sure everything's kind of even there. It ain't too terrible bad. Some of these I didn't get tight, and some I got too tight. Well, we got that there. Looks good. So I don't have like a little FOD or FUD or whatever they call them things. I'm just going to take my awl here. And so you'll see this little doohickey sticking out here on the end. And I'm going to take and run that little FOD thing, my stylus. I'm going to run that into the first loop I made here, which is the first one in that line. Now I'm going to try to pull that sucker out of there. And I cinched things down way too tight. I shouldn't have done that because it's going to make my life miserable here. All right, and then I'm going to pull that out. I'm going to pull it out again here. And you'll notice I made a nice little loop right there. So I'm going to pull this out on the back side without pulling away my loop. All right, now I need to split this again. Kind of distraught at how well this goat hide separates from its surface layer. All right, so I'm going to go through my next hole all the way. And then let's see here. I go through, before I go through the bite, come through that hole. Oh boy, this is where it gets confusing. Yeah, so I come through that little loop that was left up there. Now I come through the bite. And I had my dadgum line upside down when I did that. There we go. I'm not going to cinch this down real hard and fast right just yet. So now I'm going to come back around. And then this time I'm going to go through that loop again. But instead of coming up from the back here, I'm going to come in from the top. And now I'll start to try to cinch this down. Kind of move things back and forth a little bit as needed. And then I'm going to come out, or go in through my last hole that's there. And pull that right on through. Kind of even things out. And if you weren't looking at my tails, you can not tell where that seam is at. And it's right there. So, actually I need to tighten up just a bit. And so I don't have a loop here, a hole. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run this up. And I'm going to run it back through a handful of loops here. Yeah, I'll run it through this one first. Yeah, it's not that bad to do, Todd. It's fairly easy braid. I'm gonna run this one back in here a couple times. Oops, got a twist in it. Nice thing about kangaroos is it's pretty durable, so you don't have to worry about breaking it. Let's run this back in through here, about 3 or 4 stops, and then I'm just going to trim it off. And I'm just doing that just to secure it. I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to. And I'll just clip that off. And then that other tail end that went on that loop, I'm going to do the same thing with it. Actually, I better spear point that. And I might pull this through. Tell I got them a little too tight when I started. And sure enough, it tore that right off of that needle, like I was afraid it might. But stitched it in there all right. So yeah, you got the one little stitch there you can see, but other than that, on the surface you can't notice it. I'll just kind of tidy things up here. And then to kind of finish it out, make it all look real nice and even after I get it kind of tidied up, we apply some force. And this will make it all set flat. I'll turn it over and do it again. And then that just kind of flattens it down, makes it look real nice. And so there's 2 to a match set. We'll do 2 more with this color and 2 more with the black color, and then we'll see if anybody else wants them like this or if they want them stitched before I do the rest of them. But I do have some reddish brown ones. It's medium brown color. Unfortunately, they're out in the shop. so I haven't went and got them, but I have. These have been coated with Resolene. They were neat's foot oiled. Neat's foot oiled them before I dyed them. Because sometimes that dye just doesn't let that neat's foot penetrate very well. So yeah, dyed them before I neat footed them, or neat footed them before I dyed them. Then once they were dry with the dye, just before I did this about 2 hours ago, I put a coat of Resolene on them, and that's what gives them the shine, and that'll help waterproof them and protect them for extended use. And then the idea on the nice soft back, it a little more aesthetically appeasing than that. And I don't know. I thought maybe it might give them a little bit of grip. They won't slide around as much. Of course, these don't slide that much either. But I got all this goat skin that I'm never going to use it for anything. So bag it with that, makes it look just a little nicer, a little softer, a little more supple. Wished I had a pattern for a holder for these, or I'd put them in a little holder. But yeah. So if you're interested in those, like I said, several folks have looked at them. If you're interested in those, just shoot me an email, and we can set you up. Basically, all these are, so if when you get them, just a heads up, they are not the same thickness all the way through. These are scrap pieces that weren't good enough for knife sheaths and weren't good enough for holsters, and there was too much for me to justify to throw away. So I took those scrap pieces and turned them into coasters. I've got some here that are just all they are is basket weaved. They don't have my maker's mark in them. And then I've got 8 blanks that I haven't figured out what I want to do with those yet. But like I said, they aren't uniform, all of them. Some of them are thin. Like this one's a prime example. This one's quite a bit thinner than the others, because on a side of leather, when you get down in the belly, because the side is the whole side. It's the whole side of the animal. When you get down the belly region and the armpits and stuff and the arms, there's a lot of leather there that it's just not that good a quality. And I don't want to have to pay the extra money to have my leather come with it already cut off of there. They charge you quite a bit more for that. So I decided, well, I need to get some use out of them because there's so much of it laying around, and I need to kind of get some of it cleaned up out of the shop. And some of the thicker stuff, scrap, I'm saving that for toe plugs and such, because I need like this stuff. I can get several toe plugs out of this. But I decided some of it, I just turn it into coasters for a little quick sale item, and actually I can get quite a bit of money out of those little coasters. Out of a piece of leather that would have been crap before, I can turn around and make a little bit of a profit. But one thing you'll notice on some of these too, some of them it covered up real nice, but when I put the compass, the wing divider in the middle of these, it left a hole, and my maker's mark did a fairly good job of covering most of them up, but some of them, and I think it's more on the red ones, my maker's mark wasn't quite on par, and basically my alignment wasn't quite on par, and so you can see a little hole there in the center, but it doesn't change the usefulness of it. But it does make a little dark mark there from the dye that you can see right in the middle of the K there. But other than that, that's only the really big blemish that you can see on these. So yeah, for junk leather that I was probably going to wind up throwing away, I was able to turn around and make some nice stuff out of it. All right. So other things I'm working on, I want to work on today and tomorrow and the next day and the day after that, and the day after that, day after that. Got more holster orders I'm working on. So got our Bill Hickok style 51 Navy. And I cut this one out of the top piece of that hide, and I don't know what happened. That hide was supposed to be 8 to 9 ounce. And you got down on one end, it was like 6 ounce. But up here in the back, it's almost 10 ounce. It's almost 9 to 10 ounce. This hide is really thick and I had to oil this thing a lot more than I normally do to get it to fold over. And the same is true on this Walker holster. This is the one I screwed up on. I went to make a right and I cut out a left. The left is sitting over there still. So yeah, these are really, really thick. Didn't want to cooperate all that well, but I got enough oil on them now that they're bending. It's gonna take quite a bit of force to hold them together to sew them. It's gonna be a pain to sew them, but I can get it done. And then yeah, this is Bohannon. So Wheels and Levers, if you're watching, this is your Bohannon. I think it's Wheels and Levers. I might have screwed that up. Anyway, still got to line it here, which I'll be doing that here shortly. I got to go to town though, and I got to get glue because my glue is not the good enough quality to glue it. When I was painting it yesterday, it was just kind of globbing all over, so it's just about done. But when I line this one, it'll only be lined up to this far, which is pretty traditional back in the day. They didn't line the whole thing, because if I lined that, then I'd have to stitch around every single one of these. And then I'd have to stitch around this whole thing. And by the time it was all said and done, that $60, $70 holster, $75, whatever is the price I got on them, would turn into probably $150 or more. But just with that lining, all I got to do is stitch around here, and then stitch up to here through here, and it's not that bad. I'd stitch down around the toe. But yeah, got these all oiled up. They'll be ready to go. And if anybody's wondering, on the Bohannons, I have not been dyeing the inside of these. Not like the first ones I sent out, and on Hell on Wheels, the inside is dyed black. The reason for that is I had somebody complain about them getting on their clothes. And this black dye, I don't care how much Resolene. I've got some black Resolene that I'll wind up putting on all these black ones. But the black Resolene, I don't care how much you put on there. Eventually, it just starts wearing off and getting on your clothes. So I don't dye that on the back anymore, unless somebody really, 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 really wants it. I just dye the fronts. And then I got this one that a gentleman ordered that's going to be a little fancier. It's going to have some studs on it. He wanted nickel stainless or silver stuff, and I've got stainless steel, so that's going to have to do. But and they don't pay attention to that Jake brake law in this town at all. But yeah, it'll be fancied up like that other one I've made that you can see on the Facebook and such. But anyway, I think I'm going to shut it down there for now. Of course, now we're back up to 7 folks watching. I think I seen Sabater comment here. Let's see, Sabater. Yeah, we might be able to work something out. I'll save you some shipping though, and I'll grab them when we do our little swap. Yeah, Sabater. Yeah, rings on the nightstand. That's why you put down a coaster. But it must be kind of a thing of the past, because I've been trying to sell coasters and a lot of people haven't wanted coasters, but might have some sold. So anyway, I'm going to shut this off for today. Be sure to check us out over at Love and Bang Bang on Saturday the 10th, I think it is here, Saturday night this week. We're going to be finishing up. Well, we're going to be diving into the Rosebud part of the campaign. Maybe we'll get a little bit into the Horse Meat March. I know at some point Garrett wants to get into the Nez Perce stuff. And that's one that I'm really going to have to do a lot of research on. And I don't know if we'll do a whole lot on that one. But and then at some point I would like to get into the Red Clouds War Bozeman Trail stuff. And that one I've got a ton of books on sitting here. So anyway, I'm going to sign off. Thanks, y'all, for joining in. Like I said, if you're interested in these coasters, I kind of got a limited amount because I have run out of usable scrap that I want to donate to this. But yeah, let me know if you want any coasters. We'll figure out a price there. I've got some that are still blank yet. So I've got 8 here blanks. I've got 4 basket weaves. I've got let's see, I've got 8 of this color, which is the russet, and these will have the kangaroo cognac. I think 4 of them are going to have the black on them, and then I've got some medium browns out in the shop that I haven't done anything with. I got 8 of those. So I got 8, 16, 20. I got 28 of them that I can send out. So anyway, thanks y'all for joining in. I'll check the chat here one more time. See you, Ed. Thanks for joining in, even though it's kind of there at the end. But yeah, thanks for all joining in. Y'all stay safe. Keep your powder dry. Stay tuned. Like I said, on Live and Bang Bang. Catch you on the next one.